Welcome everyone to Aravindh Chithambaram taking on Richard Rapport in the 8th round of the UZChess Cup 2025. Aravindh has had not a great event until now. 3 losses and 4 draws in 7 rounds, and he's still searching for his first win in the tournament. Richard, on the other hand, wasn't having particularly a great event either, but his win against Praggnanandhaa has surely pushed him forward. And now Aravindh opens the game with 1 e4. He pushes his pawn to e4. Richard has had this ritual of coming late to the game, and here as well you can see he comes 5 minutes late to the game. And I guess that's just his way of trying to get into the flow of the tournament. You know, when players are playing a certain event, something starts to work for them and they want it to go that way. So here he's adjusting all his pieces. And calmly getting ready for the fight. Look at Aravindh there, so calmly sitting there, and he plays c5, the Sicilian. What a welcome change from e5 that is played so much at this top level. The knight comes out to f3. And of course the Sicilian is very aggressive opening. We'll see what variation he chooses. He plays e6, so he's going for this Taimanov Khan family there. Paulson goes pawn to d4. So Aravindh not holding back, going for the open Sicilian. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes d4. And now if you play your knight to f6, it's possible, but he goes for a6, and this is known as the Sicilian Khan. It's very flexible, and Aravindh plays his bishop to d3, keeping the c pawn open to move ahead. Bishop comes out to c5. Quite a dangerous move, one must say, because after knight b3 you have a choice between going back here or here, and when you go back to a7 you are definitely provoking or inviting queen g4 to attack the g7 pawn. Aravindh tries to be very solid. He goes queen e2, which is also a fine line. He wants to trade off the bishops with bishop e3. Knight c6 played. And in doing so, by the way, playing bishop e3, he's saying that all your dark squares will get weakened. So he brings his bishop out to e3, offering a trade of bishops. And Richard now plays pawn to d6. So some control on the dark squares has been re-established here. And now the knight comes to d2. Aravindh is still in his prep. He could have played c4 and put the knight on c3, but knight d2 is what he wants to do. Maybe the knight will come later to f3. Maybe after f4. Who knows? Let's see. Well, going long side might be a bit risky here also. Richard is known for his attacking play. So short castling does seem a very logical way to continue. So castles here. I like how white has completed his development. All the pieces are out. The rooks are connected. Everything looks good. Richard takes on e3. Of course you want to take it back with the queen. If you take back with the pawn, then the e5 square becomes weak. So take back with the queen. And now black castles here. Rook goes to d1. The rook is put opposite the queen and the d6 pawn. And maybe just queen e7. queen c7 rather, putting the queen, defending this pawn and having this nice semi-open c file. And Aravindh goes for this Marokzi bind setup with e4, with c4 and e4. With these two pawns, he's stopping black's counterplay in a big way. Knight b4 played, and this is interesting because I don't know if Aravindh wants to keep this bishop or not, but he cannot move it because of knight c2 fork. But he can go back to b1 if needed. It's possible, but I don't think it matters. Like, you could just go a3 and be completely fine. Just the problem is there could be knight g4 to worry about. So that's the reason why he goes knight f3 first. I guess knight g4 just coming back to e2. Queen d2 is fine. He goes pawn to e5. A very, very committal move here by Richard Rapport. He wants to put his bishop on e6. He's weakening the d5 square. But in doing so, he's getting all his pieces into the game. Pawn to a3 played. So that if you take, I'll take back. And the d6 pawn is super weak. He comes back. Knight to c6. And now, maybe bishop g4, maybe knight d4 later. I think Aravindh makes the smart choice of pushing his pawn to h3, stopping all ideas of bishop g4 and knight g4. The bishop comes out to e6. And could we simply go rook c1 here? Well, he comes knight d2. I think Aravindh's plan is pretty clear. He wants to go knight f1 e3 d5 or b1 c3 d5. This is the way in which he wants to play for that central square on d5. And Richard goes knight to h5. I like this move a lot. He wants to come to f4. He's also preparing f5. And if Aravindh plays g3, the h3 pawn is hanging. Goes bishop f1. Does Aravindh here. And he's getting ready to play g3. And that's the reason why Rapport jumps in. Because now if g3, I guess you would be losing this pawn. Not so sure though. It is possible to go g3 because after take king h2, the knight is not having too many squares. He first brings his rook to c1. Maybe somewhere there are c5 breakthroughs in the air. Aravindh has 58 minutes. Rapport has 46. It has been quite an intense game. Queen comes to e7 now. Maybe not the best move. Aravindh can go for his plan of knight b1, knight c3, knight d5. But look at him there. Calculating, totally getting in and finding this beautiful move g3. What a move. Because if you take on h3, there is king h2 and somehow this knight is trapped here. Doesn't have many ways. You can go queen d7 but suddenly c5 with the queen opposite the rook. So taking here on h3 doesn't make any sense. Richard comes back to g6. Not a happy move to make. And now pawn to b4. A good move here by Aravindh. A very good move actually. Richard getting slightly squashed for space. Goes rook a d8. I'm interested to see how Aravindh develops this position further. He goes bishop to g2. A very useful move. And so pawn comes up to h6. So rook e1 played. And I guess somewhere Aravindh is playing against this move f5 for now. Rook d7 played by Rapport, who's just trying to be calm here, building up his position, not rushing in, playing on the fact that Aravindh also is a person who likes to do something. King h2 played. And Richard puts his queen back on d8. A nice maneuver here. Rook d7, queen d8. Queen is more flexibly positioned here. And now Aravindh plays his bishop to f1. Just defending the c4 pawn, preparing the movement of this knight. Knight goes back to e7. What a maneuvering game this has become, yeah? But now surely f5 is on the cards. And Aravindh goes b5. Going for something very direct. And will be interesting to see how Richard responds. Takes the pawn on b5. C takes b5. Knight to a5 played. The knight looks at these key squares. And knight to c4. Well, these exchanges, these trades on c4, I don't know who is it going to help more, white or black. Because black, I think, is happy here. Pushes the pawn to f5. Whoa. The position is getting wild and interesting. Aravindh plays his other knight to d2. I don't know if he's worried about this move f4 or not. Maybe not, just queen b6. So takes on c4. You can take with the bishop also. Yeah, he takes with the bishop. Taking with the knight wasn't a great idea. Then you have this central clump of pawns. So bishop takes, bishop takes. And now rook takes. And somehow it does feel that black has outplayed white. King h8. Like white king is a bit weak. This f2 pawn is a bit soft. The central pawns can roll after fe4. Too many weak things happening. King g2 played. And now actually f4 could be very powerful. Very strong. Or even d5 for that matter. He pushes d5. A great move. Takes. And now rook takes d5. Defending the e5 pawn. Instead Rapport takes with the knight. And now Aravindh must take on e5. Be bold there. Because if knight b6 attacking the rook and the knight, you have rook h4, rook d2 and rook takes h6 with a very huge attack. But instead Aravindh just showing that this is not the tournament where he is at his sharpest best. Doesn't take this pawn. Comes back queen e2. And Richard is like, hey Aravindh, I am now totally better with these central pawns. It's a huge initiative. Knight goes back to f1. And now already f4 should not be underestimated. f4, if queen e4, you have rook e7. By the way, f4 found by Richard. Incredible. Incredible. He takes on e4. And now rook e7 is very strong. But also you can toss in the move f takes g3. Takes. Yes, f takes g3 taken. And now rook e7 to attack the queen, whereby the queen is pushed away to b1. Finds that move. Rook e7. The only move now is to go back. And now a very important move for Richard, which he finds with ease. Rook f7. He's coming in here Also, the threat is rook takes f1, rook takes f1, knight e3 check, winning the house. Aravindh goes back, king g1. He's unhappy there. You can feel it. You can feel it. Queen b6 check is a strong move. Coming in here, queen f6 is very powerful. Queen to d7. He's brought his queen up, attacking the pawn on h3. Not the best move. Chance for Aravindh with rook g4 to get some counterplay rolling. But he goes queen d3, which is an insane move. It's a big mistake. Okay, he's playing for basically if queen takes h3, then rook h4. That is his idea, majorly. But rook f3 is a move that he missed. Queen e2, and now just queen takes h3 is just finish. And Aravindh there just making the moves for the sake of making them. His position is totally losing. Rapport now sacking his rook. Rook takes g3. He is now doing this in style. Knight takes g3. Queen takes g3. You can't block with the queen. e1 is hanging. So you go king h1. And perhaps rook f2 just finishes the game. Because if queen e8 check, king h7, queen e4 check, there is g6. And no checks on e7. The knight covers this. Rook f2 is game over now. Mate here and here. You can't stop both of them. And yeah, Aravindh resigns there. Richard Rapport scores another win over an Indian Grandmaster. This game was also very well played by him. I must say the way in which he maneuvered and then outplayed Aravindh was very impressive. And so he scores his second win of the tournament. For Aravindh, this tournament has been very tough. He has lost 4 games, drawn 4, lost close to 24 ELO points. It brings him down to 27, 25, but he's lost some points before as well. So, lot of losses, but I think Aravindh is going to come back stronger in the tournaments to come. For now, it was Richard Rapport who emerged victorious.